Cooper Hewitt Smithsonian Design Museum's Design at Home video series, inspiring students and families through design digitally.
Hello, I'm Micah, a content producer.
And I'm Tiffany, an educator and content creator at Cooper Hewitt Smithsonian Design Museum. We are so excited to share with you Cooper Hewitt's Design at Home project. Design at Home is a series of educational videos that was created to meet the needs of teachers, students, and families at the start of the 2020 pandemic. Each Design at Home episode explores a design object, exhibition, or idea, and then takes the viewer through a hands-on activity that uses inexpensive or easy-to-find materials. Design at Home is intended to not only tell people about our collections, but also to invite them in to participate and make meaning out of the objects that we share.
Design at Home addresses several questions that Cooper Hewitt was reconsidering in March 2020 when we began pivoting to virtual programming. How might we tell the history of an object or design movement in an engaging way digitally? How might we place it in context? How might we make the technique tangible? And finally, how might we make the story accessible to different audiences? The Design at Home series sits at the intersection of our collections, exhibitions, and programs.
Though it was born out of meeting a need in an extraordinary time, what we've learned from Design at Home is that our exhibitions, collections, and resources have so much more to offer classrooms and caretakers than what exclusively lies within our building walls. This project began with a smartphone, a potato, and a little bit of creativity. And while our means of production have become more sophisticated over time, the heart of this project continues to be meeting audiences where they're at and making design accessible using everyday materials. Our first Design at Home video was Design at Home, potato stamp pattern making inspired by Eva Zeisel. This was a project that was translated from a live program that Cooper Hewitt's conservators had developed in collaboration with education, where participants got hands-on experiences of Eva Zeisel's process using potato stamp carving. In a moment where everyone was confined to their homes, many with stocked pantry basics, we thought that this potato carving design activity could be the perfect jumping-off point for our project. Check out this clip of our very first Design at Home.
The first Design at Home was simple in its construction. We wanted the video to be more than a talking head, so we introduced collections objects and designer photos to engage and inspire viewers. We focused on creating an identity for Design at Home, including the opening titles, format, instructional pages, activity, and end title. We also contextualized the video in Smithsonian's Learning Lab platform, creating collections to make the information and activities even more accessible to educators and families. The collection's object, exhibition, or designer becomes tangible through the viewer's participation in designing their own project.
The Design at Home project not only gave us new platforms to share collections and exhibitions with students and families, but it also opened up new ways to collaborate across the museum like never before. In Design at Home, Design Your Own Mini Exhibit, curator Ellen Lupton teamed up with Interim Education Director Kim Diga to share with audiences how they too can curate and tell stories with the design in their lives.
The creation of Design at Home Mini Exhibit marked the first time we promoted this series on social media. One of the goals at this point was to make access a priority, including offering English and Spanish captioning for every video. We also integrated visual descriptions into our scripting process for non-audio described videos.
As we continue to develop these videos, we're also trying to tell more complex and diverse stories, activating our exhibitions beyond the walls of our galleries. Our video on zine design tells the story of fashion designer Willie Smith, who's featured in Cooper Hewitt's exhibition, Willie Smith Street Couture. It then walks through a step-by-step guide for creating a zine, challenging audiences to consider their own identities and how they might express themselves through design.
With our doors closed due to the pandemic, education also began brainstorming a new way to experience design field trips and interactive design experiences. Design Field Trip was born that summer.
While our self-paced Design at Home field trip videos maintain the lesson and hands-on workshop format that we found success with in our previous Design at Home videos, we've strategically made some changes to specifically meet the needs of the teachers who might use these resources in their classrooms. These videos are a little bit longer in length and offer pauses and prompts for the lesson and activity to be facilitated in a classroom. This year, we collaborated with the Smithsonian Tropical Research Center's education team and scientists to develop a STEM-based design field trip in both English and Spanish. This was to create a more accessible resource for teachers and students. It has been incredible to see the impact that this project has had and the overwhelmingly positive response and participation that it has received.
My name is Kyrie, and I made a project of a bus stop and a house and protect students from rain, snow, and wind.
Design at Home, Design a Zine was our fourth Design at Home video. By this point, we knew we're engaging people with our Design It Yourself at Home activities. We'd accrued more than 11,000 views. Our audiences were primarily in California, Texas, New York, Florida, and Illinois. Design at Home became a new entry point to Cooper Hewitt, the idea of design, and the museum sector, opening the gateway to our other virtual programming and resources. Design at Home was hugely successful on our YouTube page and Instagram. Our digital presence reached further than our New York City campus and brought our mission to new users. As an unofficial audience case study, Design at Home has shown us that short-form, interactive, and educational content engages a wider, younger audience than we've previously interacted with. Our views, impressions, and average view duration have increased. Viewership for these videos are in the thousands rather than the hundreds. One example of this is the Design at Home batik dyeing video that extends the life of contemporary Muslim fashions. It walks the viewer through the batik dyeing process and shows them a way to make it their own.
In the summer of 2020, this series was picked up by PBS, reaching thousands of families with Cooper Hewitt's collection. The following year, the series was used by the New York City Department of Education for curriculum that reached hundreds of 6th through 8th graders. These students and families might have never walked through the doors of Cooper Hewitt, but through this new digital platform, we were able to make a pathway for scholars and educators to better access Smithsonian collections, research, and education resources. We are so excited to see this project grow and develop. As we continue, we look forward to bringing in more collaborative voices and perspectives. As we've co-created with the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute, we also hope to have the opportunity to work with other units, working together as one Smithsonian to amplify the power of the stories we tell.
In the future, we're excited to continue exploring other mediums and formats of storytelling as we learn together what our audience wants to engage with digitally. Perhaps this looks like even shorter form videos or long form documentaries like Mud Frontiers.
This is also an exciting moment for us as our museums begin to enter a new normal. Looking forward to a time when we can welcome guests in person for programs and on-site experiences. What might be possible for Design at Home as a tool for welcoming people through our doors? What might be possible for Design at Home as a tool for reaching people who will never walk through our doors? How might you activate exhibitions and collections with video content like Design at Home? Over the rest of the session, Mike and I will be available to answer any questions that you have about our process or project. We'll also be available to answer any questions or help you troubleshoot anything that you might be working through for your museum.
Thank you so much for joining us.
To watch all our Design at Home videos to date, check out our YouTube page, www.youtube.com/Cooper Hewitt, and navigate to the Design at Home playlist on the homepage. Bye!
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for letting us join and share a little bit more about our project. The first question that we have is, how do you decide what objects or exhibitions are right for Design at Home? And that is a great question. And, I think that at the core of it, it's collaboration with the other colleagues at our museum. Of course, we're always looking at what is on view, what exhibitions and collections are currently up, and how might we engage people with those through this medium. But we're also looking at what other projects are going on in the museum. What is our communications team focusing on? I think a really good example of this is we have a sustainable jewelry design video that was made for Earth Day, and that came out of collaborative conversations with our communications department, because we knew that they would be sharing content for Earth Day. So we were kind of strategic in highlighting parts of our collection that we knew would support their work as well. Micah, do you have anything that you would like to add for that?
No, I think we also draw from past learning labs that exist that the education department has created, which is a great way to pull resources from curatorial and education and programs that exist too. So just wanted to add that, another resource that we also pull from.
Yeah, that's a really great point. The next question we have is, are the educational programs CC licensed? And Micah, I'm not sure if on the technical end, you might have a little bit more insight into that, but I don't believe so either. All of our YouTube videos are free use, so I believe that is the answer. Yeah. And the idea is that these will be for use with teachers and families, and so we want them to be sort of as broadly available as possible. So the next question, I love this question. What makes a great One Smithsonian collaboration? I think our main point of reference for this is that collaboration that we referenced with the Smithsonian Tropical Research Center and their amazing education and scientific research team. And I think what made that such a fantastic collaboration is the different perspectives that we were bringing to us the same topic. So they were coming at things from a very sort of scientific method and research-based perspective. And of course, we were coming at it with a design-based perspective, and bringing those two together, I think really brought the content to life and made it much more dynamic. And so we would love to sort of explore that with the other units and how we can sort of bring those perspectives together. The next question is, what kinds of challenges have you experienced with this project, and what resolutions did you find effective? Micah, are there any challenges that first come to mind for you?
I think the first one's because we started during the pandemic and we were all at home. We had to, learn, everyone had to figure out how to record themselves at home without the technology that we're used to having on site at the museum. And so there was really collaboration between us on our computers working, trying to set things up. And then we eventually, were able to upgrade some technology after we'd produced a few design at homes. We eventually got green screen, we got a light, we got ring lights and all of this. And that sort of made our process a little easier. And I think we were really scrappy at the beginning. And I think that's sort of helped us make something that when we have even more resources, we're able to create an even bigger production, which really just adds to the life of design at home and expands who we can collaborate with and who's willing to collaborate with us as well. What about you, Tiffany, since you were the one doing this at home?
Yeah, and if you all would have seen the setup, it would often be my iPhone hung from a lamp so that I could get sort of an overhead shot, because exactly like Micah said, we started really scrappy. And I think that was also really, it gave me a lot of perspective, I think, because it's easy for me to not want to even wade into a project unless I can accomplish it perfectly the first time. And I think that sort of our limited availability at the beginning has really shown that you can create something great, even if it's not exactly how you would want it in the end. I think leaving that room for growth has been really exciting. And now, that we are able to occasionally go on site, we do have more resources allocated to this project now. And so we have seen sort of that technical side grow. And really, I would say that the biggest way that we overcame a lot of these challenges is by collaboration within our museum. I don't know what I would have done without Micah and her team and our other colleagues who had a little bit more technical savvy and who could point me in the right direction. So I think that again, collaborative spirit is key. Yeah, okay, actually, this is a really circling back to the educational programs, the question whether they were CC licensed. Somebody's pointed out that adding a Creative Commons license would help teachers use art content with more confidence, and wondered if there was anything that we would want to add about that. And honestly, I don't have a ton to add, but that is super helpful information. And like we've said, this project is still sort of just emerging from a grassroots effort. And so knowing information like this is extremely helpful. So thank you to whoever shared that with us. The next question is, how would you like to see this project grow? Micah, do you have any thoughts on that initially?
I think that we want to experiment with shorter form videos too, just to see what that could look like if we had just to add new elements to design at home. Tiffany has been talking about new segments that we could add to design at home, which could be really interesting, bringing in conservators or maybe a curator to talk about their process in the design at home series, so that we could see from the object point of view to the object being collected in a museum and seeing all the different steps that take place there. So that's definitely one thing that I want to see. What about you, Tiffany? I know we talked about it would be amazing if we could travel and film different segments to show people how things are made too. So who knows what we have in the future, but we're definitely excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really excited about there's two ways that I would like to see this project grow. And Micah, you kind of mentioned both of them. One, I would love to bring in more voices in our museum. Like you said, there's such a huge range of expertise and different perspectives on our collection and on our exhibitions within our museum. And now that we have more of an opportunity to do what I almost think of as field work, be in the museum, be on site, be in the galleries, I would love to highlight those skills a little bit more and those perspectives more. And another way is I would love to collaborate more with some of our team who's creating content for social media and see how we could tap into some of those audiences. Right now, this project has primarily lived on Learning Lab and on YouTube. We have shared the videos, sort of the longer form videos, on Instagram before, but it wasn't necessarily made for Instagram. And we would love to be doing more sort of trying to engage the audiences similarly, but for this sort of social media born content. So developing it in collaboration with our communications team with sort of their strategic goals in mind as well. So the next question that's come up is that we mentioned making short videos moving forward. What do you have in mind for those? Actually, that's really in line with what I was just saying. And it's, while I don't believe that our museum has TikTok, it's hard to not look around at what the sort of emergent trends of video-based learning are, and you see there those sort of hyper short, quippy, really digestible snapshot videos. And I think that there's a lot that we could do with that. I think that there's a lot of ways that we could highlight designers and their skill sets in this way that require sort of less of a time commitment. Our videos are usually between 10 and 15 minutes long. And when I even think about my own sort of media diet, very rarely do I sit down and watch a 10 to 15 minute video. And obviously this is, we are thinking for a younger audience where maybe a caretaker or a teacher would use this as a resource or as an activity. But we would love to think about how we could create more of that. When I say short style, I am kind of thinking about TikTok or Instagram Reels or something that's just a little bit more succinct. Micah, you've had some ideas about this as well.
Yeah, we've been talking cross-departmentally about looking at ways that design plays a part in different Smithsonian units too. And so it would be really awesome if we could do a short form video about a single object or a single process, like creating lace, for example. We have a series on our YouTube that's like the design dictionary, and it has short form things like that. And I feel like TikTok and Instagram Reels has a really good, they've sort of refined the way that you can make these 30-second to 3-minute long videos. And I think that we could do a really great job of that with design, since it is so ubiquitous, since it is everywhere. I feel like we've never run out of objects and examples to use. So yeah, we're really excited about working with that in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I was thinking about too is that we have found a almost like a formula for design at home that has worked really well for us so far, that is sort of this lesson and then a hands-on activity. And I certainly, we want to continue to make that format, but I think that there's a way to break out of that format and do something that is just sort of design tools, design practices, that's sort of a quick tutorial. I also think, like Micah mentioned, there can be these like quick lessons and overview, and there doesn't necessarily have to be a hands-on component. So we're really looking at how we can expand beyond this sort of traditional template that we've been using for the past year or so. Now that we've dialed into that, we would, love to experiment further with how we can push those limits. Okay, so I think that we have come to the end of our questions. If anybody else has any final questions before we go, though, feel free to drop it in the Q&A and we'd be happy to answer anything. Oh, I see that there's one more. Just waiting for it to come in. Okay, let's see. So can we talk more about our partnership with Smithsonian's Tropical Research Center? Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, that is one of my favorite projects. It's one of our most recent projects. We had actually collaborated with them for our virtual summer camp. And this design field trip, sort of design at home video that we made with them, was directly inspired by that collaboration. So we were able to actually tap into, after we sort of collaborated with them on the content, they connected us with their scientists who told us about some of the projects that they were working on. And our team kind of talked through how we might turn that into a design challenge, and how we could really marry their scientific processes with concepts about design and designers. The video talks about biomimicry and how biomimicry appears in nature and in sort of their research practices, but also how scientists use biomimicry, or designers use biomimicry to create new and innovative designs. So we were actually able to record 2 videos, which was really exciting. So our team at Cooper Hewitt recorded one of them with a short video featuring one of their scientists, and we recorded it in English. And then their education team recorded the same exact video in Spanish. And so that way we were able to have both of those for both of our audiences. And of course, Cooper Hewitt, we were looking at offering more sort of language resources And so this was a great jumping off point that I think was hitting a lot of our goals, both in that One Smithsonian collaboration, but also in creating more accessible videos. So these we developed specifically to send to teachers and classrooms, both in Cooper Hewitt's network and in the Smithsonian Tropical Research Center's network. And I believe there might be one more question. Have you heard feedback from educators that has informed or changed your process? Have they requested certain content that they want more of? This is a really great question. And I think this is something that sort of as we move forward, we would like to focus on even more, is getting some of that sort of feedback and data. We have heard, we showed a little snippet. We've heard sort of through social media, teachers sharing that they've gone through these projects and showing them with their students. So that's always really exciting to see. We haven't received a ton of critical feedback yet. And I think we would love to get more of that and for that to sort of inform our processes. So yeah, that's a great question. So we haven't quite dialed in on how to, because it goes out into the digital sphere, we haven't quite figured out how to access all of the audiences who are using it and hear how they're using it. But it has been really excellent to see sort of tangibly through those sharing on Twitter and different social media that teachers are using it and are excited about it. Micah, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think it's really great that we have these supplemental things like books and different booklets that we can offer. So you saw in the video, we had the Design at Home activity challenge. So that came out, I think last year or the year before. And so all of these programs and videos and books that we're producing are sort of working in tandem and spreading throughout the community. And though we haven't heard direct feedback about the videos or critical feedback, other than responses that we've gotten about them, we are seeing people interact with our booklets and the Design Around Town books and other things that cross-departmental publications and education and curatorial are also working on.
And the next question is kind of related. Have we received any specific requests about specific topics and content from audiences? And actually, the answer is a resounding yes, that because this is sort of educator and student focused, we have received requests for STEM content or STEAM content. So the science based, engineering based content. So, because design is great for that, we have tried to focus a majority of our videos into that kind of STEAM content, because we know that teachers are really interested in integrating that into their curriculum. So that's definitely informed sort of the lens that we've taken for a lot of these videos. All right, well, I think that has reached the end of our question. Thank you again so much to everyone who tuned in. It was lovely joining you today.
Thank you.